Several women claim to have been victims of Kelly's, 3 of whom were underage at the time they alleged this happened. Yesterday, one of the alleged victims, identified as Jane Doe number 5, provided emotional and rather disturbing testimony about her alleged abuse. She took the stand again this morning to finish direct examination, and she began cross from the defense. Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae is outside the courthouse with the latest on this high-profile trial. Julia, thank you so much for being with us today. Tell us about Jane Doe number 5. I know she returned to the stand this morning. What were the highlights, rather, of her testimony so far?
Some of the highlights when she was still under direct examination this morning, which she detailed just what it was like living in the home for 4 years, or living with R. Kelly, rather. There were several homes and hotels that she stayed in as his live-in girlfriend, but it was really interesting to me and stood out that she really was with him until 2019, until all of the allegations in that Lifetime docuseries Surviving R. Kelly aired. She actually watched them and said Kelly sat her down with another one of the live-in girlfriends and told them it was all allegations, that they were going to work to get a cease and desist. So they were living in a situation that was now being shown to the world about demeaning conditions that they were living in. But ultimately, it wasn't until October of 2019 before she started cooperating with prosecutors.
And, you know, there were so many bits and parts of that testimony that I found very disturbing to listen to. And, Julia, I understand that our cameras were there and watching. And part of what I want to know is talking about the nephew, because the defendant said with Nephew that it was somebody he'd been grooming and then forced her to do acts with. Did I get that right?
You got it right. We don't think there's any kind of an actual familial relationship, but that was a hard part for Jane Doe number 5 on the stand, which she talked about being forced to have sex with another man. So she's in this relationship with Kelly, but there came a point during the testimony, or during their relationship rather, that he not only instructed her to have sex with other women, but also with this nephew. So there were other things in that testimony. It's been over the course of 2 days as far as what we know that was said in court. And she talked about these different rules that he had for her, the things that she had to do. I think we can take a look at some of that testimony that has been part of Jane Doe number 5's. But basically, she says that he taught her to do these things. She wrote these words down to remind herself his rules. Trust Daddy, meaning Kelly, and do whatever he says with no rebuttal, disrespect, or rebellion. Remember how I acted in the beginning, bubbly, like a child, pure, with no negative intentions. And remember to stay true to who I am, humble, happy, innocent, and beautiful to Daddy, reminding him of his mother and child. We heard a lot of testimony like that from this particular witness on the stand, detailing how the defendant wanted her to act, think, and be. And over the course of 4 years, she says that is what she efforted to do throughout.
And that is part of what the sex trafficking is about, and the vulnerability and the manipulation. And there were some other things that he or she testified to. And one of the things I'd love to focus on with you, Julia, is the fact that he was demeaning and perhaps also told her that she was worthless. Talk to us about some of that testimony that's been presented by Jane Doe number 5.
Judge Ashley, this was such tough testimony to hear, because she said as part of the process of being a live-in girlfriend, she claims that the defendant would make her record videos where she said demeaning things about herself, where she said that she was worthless, that no one loved her, even saying things that she now says is untrue about her father molesting her. But the prosecution's claim in this is that he was using that to keep her in this position of servitude, where she's hearing these negative things about herself coming out of her own mouth, and he would play back those videos for his girlfriends, play back for her. And she said the other women who lived in the house with her or lived in the various places. They were all part of a family. And I use the word family because in cross-examination, that is what Devereaux Canick is really bringing up to try and discredit this Jane Doe. He's saying that they operated like a family. They went to the movies together, that R. Kelly gave them $10,000 for Christmas to buy each other gifts. So he's trying to push the position that the defense has, that this was all consensual. These were beautiful. If they may have been unconventional, but they were relationships nonetheless.
Right. And I know, too, there was testimony that R. Kelly would say, based on her testimony, that, oh, yes, I gave the parents bricks, which I understand are narcotics, in exchange for you. And so, again, some of that manipulation about, yeah, you're worthless, nobody wanted you, but look at me, here, I've rescued you. And I know there's been a lot of that testimony today from Jane Doe 5, and that it is hard to listen to. Now, Julia, I also understand, though, that we did catch up with Kelly's godson at court this morning. What exactly did he have to say?
Dimitri Brewster was in line today. He's one of many people who have been here showing their support for the defendant. He spoke to us just before going in the courthouse, really about his reaction to the testimony that has come out in previous days and echoing some of the things that we've heard during the defendant's opening statements. Take a listen.
As what we had learned yesterday in yesterday's court hearing, that Demetrius Smith, he had admitted that he had did it on his own, that Rob did not know anything about what was going on. And the thing about that is, Demetrius has been saying that for a long time, and the prosecutor still use him as a witness. And he ain't really changed his story. He's been said, you know, that Rob didn't have anything to do with that.
Brewster speaking there about a witness who was on the stand yesterday and on Friday, Demetrius Smith, who was a former tour manager who came into this courtroom to admit that he did offer money to a state official to get a fake ID for the late singer-actress Aaliyah back when she was 15 years old to allow her to enter into a marriage with the defendant. Kelly is charged with bribery in that case, but Smith also said on the stand that no one told him to do it and that Kelly didn't direct him to do it. It was just something he felt needed to be done and that he took care of.
And Julia, let's talk a little bit about logistics again for those joining us. I know that interview was conducted outside of the courthouse where you are because it's a federal proceeding. Cameras are not allowed in the courtroom, and that you can watch still on a closed circuit TV basically in the courthouse. Has any part of that dynamic changed since the time you first started covering this case?
The dynamics overall have not changed. There are several layers of security, not only because this is already a federal courthouse where electronics are not allowed inside, no filming allowed inside, but then there's the added level of COVID-19 restriction security because we're not even allowed to be as journalists inside of the courtroom where the proceeding is happening. So there really are no public members inside the courtroom. There's the jury, there are the parties, there's the judge, court reporter, court staff, that's it. There are overflow rooms on a different floor that have closed circuit televisions and screens up where we can see what's happening from two cameras that are angled different ways inside. We can see a close-up of Robert Kelly at his defense table, and we can see a wide shot of the courthouse. So there are some limitations in being able to see the witness because they are very far away. They're actually sitting in the jury box, or where a jury would typically sit, and the jury is sitting outside the view of our cameras in the gallery.
And I do really appreciate, one of the legal analysts here on Court TV at one time said, you really kind of have to differentiate. There is the R&B singer R. Kelly, and then there is this case, which is U.S. versus Robert Sylvester Kelly. To that end, you have given us great descriptions and in-depth coverage of what supporters are like there in front of the courthouse that are supporting first R. Kelly. Are you still seeing those supporters there today?
We are still seeing the consistent group that we have seen since day one of this trial. We're now on day 5. They are showing no signs of not attending every day of this 4-week trial. So we are in week 2 now. They have not been playing the music as much. We used to hear music out here every day, R. Kelly music being played loudly, interrupting most things here outside of the courthouse doors. But now they seem to be mainly inside of the courtroom and then coming out afterward to sometimes chant, give interviews when they can. That is the scene that we are seeing. We're not really seeing anyone protesting Robert Kelly. No one here with signs saying there needs to be justice for the victims in this case. We saw on day 1 a couple of members who were related to alleged victims or Jane Does who might be taking the stand in this case or in other cases that are pending, but not the same level of support when you're looking at who's in and out of this courthouse.
And then the next question I have to ask is there any change in terms of who you are seeing in the closed caption room along with you? Because unfortunately, sometimes I think cases like this, people stop paying as much attention as it gets further into the trial. R. Kelly is facing 9 counts of racketeering. This is a major case. Are there a lot of others that are watching this on a daily basis? And is that courtroom overflow to watch TV closed circuit full?
They actually have 2 courtrooms. So there's an overflow courtroom for media only. That's where I'm seated. And then there's another overflow courtroom for the public. Now, the changes that I've observed when I'm walking past it and going through the second layer of security is that sometimes there have been some verbal altercations between people in the public room. So these are people who are either related to Kelly or members of his defense team who aren't attorneys to be inside the courtroom or other fans. And there have been times that we've noticed as media that the police have had to be called to quell the situation either outside or inside of the courthouse. So there are some tense moments that are happening inside that other overflow room. But as far as in the media room where I am, it does seem consistent about the interest in this trial and all of the evidence that continues to come out.
And certainly a reminder to all that there are numerous alleged victims in this case. They're going to be testifying, and I can imagine their family is likely to be in one of those rooms. All right, Julia Janae, you're going to stay with us there in New York. More on the federal sex crimes against R&B singer R. Kelly. We're going to take you through the background and details of the case. Stay with us. You're watching Court TV, your front row seat to justice.